Guess what, y'all? Another week has gone by. We are blessed to be here. And you know what? It's Wednesday, y'all. It's that time. You are officially Rollin Wit Ramsey. Hey, gotta love it. Wow. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful day outside. I have to say that I am blessed to be with you all another week. God continues to bless me. And sometimes I ask myself why. And I believe he's doing this because I am operating in my purpose. And that is something that I am proud that I can say. We're going to have a phenomenal show today. I'm telling you, today's guest, what she's been able to do and how she's able to operate is truly a blessing. That she brings awareness to mental health in just a form, shape, and passion. You know how you meet somebody and they just move to the beat of their own drum, but it's also a beat that you got the rhythm. You just jump right on and you just moving with them. You're moving and grooving with them. That's today's guest. She's operating her passion, bringing awareness to mental health. And that is a beautiful thing. And it's almost like she's the Pied Piper. She just keeps doing what she's doing and she's bringing awareness to it. And she just takes away all the stigmas and the things around mental health. And, you know, like we like to say, she's making it more better. And so that's a beautiful thing. Hey, if you're in North Carolina, let me say this right now. If you are in North Kakalaki, like we like to say down here in the South, guess what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is the day. It is the first day of early voting. Tomorrow starts early voting in North Carolina, and I am telling you, I am asking you, I am imploring you, I am encouraging you to exercise your civic duty and vote, vote, vote. I'm telling you, we need everyone to make sure you get out and vote. Vote early if you can. The election day for the general election is November 3rd, but October 15th, tomorrow, starts early voting in North Carolina. And I want North Carolina to show up and show out like all these other states are. Georgia, Texas. Yes, there are going to be some long lines. Yes, it's going to be a little chilly or it could be a little hot depending on when you're out there. But guess what? We want you there. We want you to cast your vote because we want every vote to be counted. You all know how I feel. I'm not afraid to say it. I am a supporter of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I believe that the country needs to come together and not be torn apart. So that is my service announcement for today. But let's get back to today's show. It is going to be awesome. Like I was saying, our guest today is a mental health advocate. And we're going to be just talking about, you know, some of the things that she's been doing and what she brings awareness to. When it comes to mental health, taking away the stigmas and making sure that people know the resources that are out there and the things that they can take advantage of. So we're really looking forward to having her on. And that being said, like I say every week, you guys don't want to hear me talk. Let me go and get our guest and bring her out of the waiting room. She's definitely a money chica. If you don't know what that is, you need to make sure that you download the Hymns album by QB Smith. Hey, you can find it on Bandcamp. That's one of my favorite songs. And so let me see here. Y'all bear with me. All right, Carina, this always seems to happen. It is okay. We're going to fix it. So you got to turn your phone one way and then turn it back. There you go. There you go. There she is. Hey. So how was your day today?
Good day, good day, good day. How about you?
You had a great day. You know what? My day was blessed because I'm able to talk to you right now. So, awesome. That being said, I want to let everyone know, you guys, I have a phenomenal guest today, Miss Carina M. Poe. She is a mental health advocate. She's also the founder of My Makeup Bag, a foundation that brings awareness to mental health and empowers ladies and encourages them to seek treatment for mental health. That's the key, I believe, to My Makeup Bag. That's my opinion. We're going to talk about that a little later. She's also a certified North Carolina peer support specialist. She's a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to recovery and all that other stuff. She's a mother. She's got fantastic kids. And I'm officially talking to the true, the number one, the only one, probably introducing to others. Some might already know, but the thriftologist herself.
Yes!
Guess what? We are talking to Miss Carina M. Cole. You are officially doing what?
Rollin Wit Ramsey.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You know, blessed and highly favored. Come on now. I'm
Right,
gonna call it like I
right.
see it. You know, I told you
All
yesterday.
is good.
Hey, I told
All
you
is
yesterday. You asked me
good.
what I was doing. I told you I was watching the grass grow. And so
Man, like I said, that's a good life.
I can't
a good
complain.
life.
You know, after 23 years in the military and then a few years in corporate America and deciding to walk away, I will tell you, I have found a joy in just being able to wake up when I want to. You know, I can be motivated by other things, but just to be able to kind of, like I said, move to the beat of my own drum. So
Right.
discovering my purpose and Rollin Wit Ramsey has truly been a blessing. And I can honestly say that it has definitely benefited my own mental health. My own show is something that I look forward to doing each week.
Amen.
And that helps in many ways. But that being said, so let's back it up. Let's
Right.
take a little walk through time.
Right.
I know in speaking with you, when you say you have your own personal journeys and so forth, and you don't have to share them all, but just a snippet or a snapshot of what got you on this path that you're on now.
Charles, what got me on this path actually is probably about 11 years ago, I lost my father. And I'm the only child, so everything got redelegated.
Oh.
And so for probably about the first 36 months, I need to make sure that my mom was good and the kids were good, but I was neglecting me. And I was very heavy in the church. Probably after work, immediately I'll be at prayer or somewhere at church. And what I realized is that things were started to break down for me. And I would go to church, I would pull up in the parking lot, and I would just sit in my car and I would pull off. And I have a spiritual mother that is absolutely amazing. And so I had kind of told her what was going on. I said, I'm not too sure, Ma. I said, but I am not feeling my best mentally. I was an entrepreneur at that time. I had a small boutique in Greensboro. So it allowed me, with going through this, I could just sit most of the day. I would get my kids off to school. And probably about 2:30, both of my children were still in like elementary. No, one was in middle school. The other one was in elementary. So they were coming out of school about the same time. And right before I realized that I needed to go seek counseling, I would just sit in my room and just look at my wooden floor, like from 1:30 to 2:30. And it was like a light, like immediately I knew I needed to get up to meet one at one end of the street and the other one. And so talking to my spiritual mom, she was like, I've done all I can do for you, daughter. She said, I've prayed with you. We've discussed scriptures. And then she handed me over a number to a place called Restoration Counseling in Greensboro. And so that was on a Friday when I spoke to her. That Monday, I was calling them and they were really quick to get me in for my first meeting. And from there, that was 8 years ago as of September. This past September, it's been 8 years since I've taken the journey for my mental health and wellness. So,
wow,
yeah.
that is so ironic. First of all, I know what it's like to lose a parent. In your journey that you're telling me about, I lost my mother in 2015.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Phenomenal woman, icon in the Guilford County school system. I shared her with everyone, being an educator and a principal and a teacher over the years. She was a mother to so many.
She left a legacy.
She sure did. And so I can identify with what you're saying because after my mom passed, I was working in Ohio and living in Ohio at the time. And if people saw me and they say, well, how's Chuck doing? I say, well, he looks fine to me. Chuck is, he's great.
Right.
But I was screaming on the inside, trying to
Right.
figure out how to process such a hole that had been left, a void. And I'm like, how do you fill this void? But like we say, everybody should be wearing a mask because of COVID, but I was wearing a mask because I just did not know how to express and deal with what I was going through. So my mask was, oh, everything's cool, everything's fine, but they
But
didn't
our
see
culture teaches us that.
how
Excuse me. Our culture teaches us that to
right,
wear that mask, to say we're okay, we're all right.
right, but they didn't see me crying myself to sleep every night and waking up and wondering what am I going to do. Why didn't I have that last conversation and things like that and how I was internalizing it. And I'm sure you can speak to this. Internalizing is never a good thing, especially if you don't know what you're internalizing because we're just natural problem solvers in trying to process it. And we can't put the pieces of the puzzle back together. And that causes another problem and another problem. And what a lot of times I've found is that people don't know to seek treatment. So then guess what? They find themselves in a much darker place that they
Oh, yes.
did not have to go if they'd have only just said, you know what? I need to ask for some help. Now, I was
But
blessed the fact that I had the services of the Veterans Affairs, the VA. So,
right.
I knew I had to figure something out. So I immediately, hey, look, I'm already talking to a psychologist about this other stuff. When I go to my next appointment,
Let's go.
we,
Yeah.
we got to look, something's not right. We got to help me get through this. And that's
But
what's
can I
important. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. But can I say something when you were saying, I think maybe like the affordable piece, a lot of people don't even realize that there are resources out there. Even restoration was sliding scale. Again, I've been a single mom since day one, basically, and it was amazing. A lot of times, a lot of us are not aware of the resources in our community. Restoration was Christian faith based. I'm a
Nice.
believer, so I was able to go there. It was on a sliding pay scale, and for that first year, I went to counseling Tuesday at 1 p.m. faithfully. The only time I missed it really was as if something was going on with the scheduling of my counselor, but I didn't miss it. And unfortunately, I think the taboo and the stigma talking about mental health, one thing that you mentioned is that mental health is just like if it was any type of other health. I tell people this often. If you were in a church and you were dealing with breast cancer or any other type of situation, your pastor would probably say, we're going to pray for you. We're going to put you on the prayers list. What did your doctor say? He said, go
Right.
do treatment. And we quote scripture. We say, by God's stripes, we're healed. And that is absolutely correct. But if we do not tend to mental health, it's treated entirely different. It's treated entirely different. And if how we take care of ourselves with any other sickness, mental health has to be treated the exact same way.
It, it,
The exact same way.
you're absolutely right. It does. And unfortunately, we find ourselves with a double whammy. And what I mean by that is it's already a stigma about mental health. And
Right.
then if you look into communities of color, it magnifies that even more.
Preach.
It's like that we're not even, okay, we're not going to talk about it, this, that, and the other. If you're in a large family, if you're in a small family, everybody has had that uncle, cousin, whatever that in that family that's having to deal with things. And you're like, well, why is this person acting this way? And your parents don't never really explain to you what's going on. And then you're just left to your own devices to figure out. And then you use words that should never be used. Oh, they crazy, or they got issues,
Oh, I
or
hate that word.
right,
Oh, I hate that
right,
word.
or they got issues, or they're
Yeah.
not right upstairs. And that is
Yeah.
definitely not fair to anyone who is dealing with a mental health issue.
Right.
And that stigma, we've seen that stigma play out in the last 5 years publicly with our law enforcement not knowing how to approach mental health issues and folks of mental
Right.
health. Unfortunately, we know people who have lost their lives. So it's just a larger problem that we need to bring as much awareness to that we can. And that's why I'm so happy to have you on today, because you do this on a daily basis.
I do. One of the things that I talk about with mental health, regardless of where I'm at, may it be in a group of women, may it be me speaking, is I want mental health awareness to be normalized. I think everybody in their home should be able to discuss if something's wrong. In my home, we talk about it. We absolutely talk about it. I wish I could tell you that me dealing with anxiety and depression just started and stopped with me. But unfortunately, there's some that have come before me. I had an aunt that dealt with, she was never diagnosed and she's gone to be with the Lord, but I do believe she dealt with seasonal affective disorder, which is a mood disorder that normally happens during daylight saving time, where you feel like you can't move, or it's hard to get around and things like that. And I remember there would be seasons where she would not come out the house, and I was early teens, and she would be like, go to the store and get me a soda, go to the store and get me chips. She wouldn't come out. And it was like the light bulb came on. She would one day comb her hair, get herself together, and she would go out. And so when I talk about normalizing, I really want our communities, especially Black families, I'm going to be honest with you, to talk about it. Normalization takes away the sting and the taboo. You begin to chip away at it.
Right.
It takes away its power when you talk about mental health awareness, and not talking about it is what leaves us powerless. And so when I talk about it in a way where it's relatable. I talk about my journey. I talk about the things that I've done. I talk about my 8-year journey with counseling. There were things that I didn't know, coping skills. I didn't know triggers, which are now called stressors. There was a lot of things that I didn't know about, even down to communicating. And that is a thing that really keeps us in a dark place, because we don't know how to communicate what is going on, because it's frowned upon. The stigma, the names that you said prior to, we don't want to be labeled. But unfortunately, when we don't deal with these things, it's our communities that is suffering. The disparities, 1 in 4 persons suffer. So if you imagine you're in church,
You look
1
around.
in 4, and you're a church of 4,000 people.
That's right.
We're suffering and we're not talking about it. Or you're at a gala somewhere and you got 400, 500 people. People are suffering, and normalizing this allows somebody to say, I get it. Because when I share my story, I'm not looking for you to say, oh, I'm praying for you. Oh, prayers are good. But my thing is I want you to understand that what you're going through is not uncommon. What I want you to understand is let's find the right help for you so that you can get on the journey of your healing.
Amen.
Everyone deserves to be whole and healed.
Right. Amen
Everyone.
to that. Amen to that. And I will tell
Everyone.
you, I will tell you, you're talking to like I said, a 23-year veteran who's being diagnosed with PTSD. We were talking about it yesterday, and talking about how just in general, if someone hears that, they automatically have these pictures or image in their head of what PTSD looks like. But it is entirely different for each individual, and what I go through and what I experience has absolutely nothing to do with what the next veteran is going through and what they experience. It's all on different levels. But a lot of people do not know that over the past 13 years, servicemen who have been a part of any of the wars that we've been over the past 13 years, 500,000 troops have been diagnosed with PTSD. I said, I want people to think about that. 500,000, over half a million troops have been diagnosed with PTSD just from doing their duty, just from serving. They now have
please forgive me. But the suicidal rate with military
22
is
a day.
High. It is rising.
22 a day. 22
it is
a day.
Absolutely rising. And you see, so where's the deficiency there? Where's the discrepancy where we're not meeting the needs?
Not meeting the needs. And the discrepancy in not meeting the needs comes from, guess what? Just like we're saying, people don't want to openly say it. People don't want to have that stigma. I tell people all the time, I have disabled tags on 2. I'm waiting on 1 for my other vehicle. Mm-hmm. And so, am I physically disabled? No, I'm not. I'm not.
Gotcha.
And I don't always park in a handicapped space. I don't. But sometimes I do. And if I get out and you're looking at me like, well, why is he parking there? I could almost look at them and say, trust me, you do not want to experience what I'm experiencing. I
Yeah.
don't wish it on anyone. But the things
Yes.
that you talked about earlier are important. Stressors, aka triggers,
Yeah.
coping mechanisms, and how to deal with certain
Yes.
things and how to handle it. Had a
Yes.
great psychologist, a great psychiatrist help me through coping mechanisms, learning what triggers, what stressors puts me into that mindset per se, and then how to handle it and how to deal with it. I tell people all the time, they say, you're a night owl. I said, it's not that I'm a night owl. I said, it's just the
Right.
fact that I have chronic insomnia and the fact that I've been in so many different time zones that my body doesn't know. One day it may wake up and say, okay, you're in Afghanistan. The next day I might go to
Right.
sleep and then my body might feel that I'm in Iraq. Or I might go to sleep and my body might feel like I'm in Bosnia. So I can't go
Right.
to sleep. And then at that point, I'm up. And guess what?
Right.
I still wake up at my normal time and operate the day as if nothing has ever happened. And you probably can attest to this. What happens? You work, you work, you work. But like my father
Yeah.
likes to say, you got to listen to your body talk. You're
Because
going
it's starting to be a breakdown.
you're going to
It's
crash and
starting to be a
burn.
breakdown.
Body
Yep.
shuts
Yep.
down
Yep. Yep.
and I go to sleep for about Lord knows how long and I wake up and I start all
Right.
over again.
You're in human hibernation.
Come on,
We call it
exactly.
human hibernation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
listen, so we're gonna we'll probably work backwards. So I know that you're not at home. So
Right.
tell me about your day job, where you are, and what resources you have there.
Okay. I work for a nonprofit called Hannah's Haven. It is a teen challenge home for women that are in recovery. I actually manage their thrift store, and our sole purpose is to be a support for the Haven. So, outside of our overhead, of course, the proceeds go back to the Haven. First of all, because of our mission, we are believers, we're Christ centered. So, we do not
Amen.
change the wording or our beliefs. So, that's the reason why we exist. I actually have the girls, a few of the girls that have completed the first year of the program. They're employed here. They do not volunteer. And this allows them to get job stability. It allows them to build
Okay.
their job portfolio. And it's a safe haven for them as well. Because again, the world, they eat you up and spit you out, and the store's been around about 2.5 years. So we're new, we're relatively new. The Haven has been around 14 years. Our executive director is a lady by the name of Bonnie Harris.
Okay.
And so she's been in the trenches for a while. She has an amazing story as well. And so she and I connected probably about no, longer than that, about 5 or 6 years ago, actually through Restoration. We both did their fashion show, Restoration Counseling, and she remembered me. And so she called me, and so we connected. And so thus forth, I started taking a journey with these girls. And it's been a blessing because, again, mental health is a broad thing. It could be addiction, it doesn't necessarily
Right.
have to mean, and it's been an amazing thing.
That is awesome. That is awesome that it not only it just bridges that gap per se and allows them to not just feel like they're getting a handout. Everybody wants to feel like they're earning their keep and
Right.
earning that way. And that builds up on the inside in that as well. And that is absolutely beautiful. We were talking about it and the fact that those doors can be open, you know,
Right.
those doors can be
Right.
open and they have
Right.
that safe place, that safe space to operate in. And
Exactly.
I think that's one of the things that people don't realize. I tell people all the time that I'm talking to, and when I was a commander, I used to tell my soldiers all the time, try to find your way to somebody's couch. Now that's me being cliche-ish, but I would tell them, I say, you need to go, it's nothing wrong with going to see a psychologist to truly figure out who you are. Why are you the way you are? I said, if you get a better understanding and get to the root of some of the things that expresses who you are, I'm telling you, you'll stand a little taller. You'll
Right.
walk with a little bit more pride because
Right.
you will have a better understanding as opposed to just thinking what the world and society wants you to think. Well, this is just how it's supposed to be. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Right. Right.
And so
Right.
And so when it comes to that, I tell people all the time, hey, what you got to do is you've got to take the time to put in the work,
Right.
to put in the work.
And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of courage. And a lot of people don't realize courage comes as simply as in calling the numbers,
Picking up the phone.
whatever exactly, and calling and saying, hey, I'd like to set up an appointment. Um, it is amazing. And I encourage people just simply picking up the phone. And I like for people to know that counseling is a non-linear thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like digging into the Pandora box. You just don't know what you're going to get. But I can speak for me. These past 8 years, I couldn't possibly imagine what life would be for me had I not started the journey. Now, hear me, I'm dealing with a parent that had passed, but I'm also dealing with my own things. And it allowed me to really unpack all of the luggage, all of the things that was not necessarily taught that was incorrect in my life, or the preconceived notions of who I was supposed to be. A lot of things. It wasn't just my dad's passing that when I sat down on the couch,
Right.
that I began to dig through. But I honestly do believe that it's made me a better person. And I think you mentioned it before, living on purpose. And I find now that my purpose exceeds my passion, because passion, you get tired, passion, you can be passionate about a top, a shirt, or anything,
Come on,
and
say it
then you be
again
like,
now.
nah,
Say it
you be
again
like,
now.
nah, I don't like it anymore. But purpose is that thing that literally says, okay, we're going to keep at it because it's bigger than us. It's bigger than us. It's part of the call. And so, me taking this journey has been absolutely amazing. I checked in with my counselor yesterday. I texted her, I said, hey, it's about that time, for me to come in, because I know, again, with daylight saving time, I got to make sure that I'm good. And so I'm proactive with me. And a lot of times when I talk to the women, they're like, huh? Like, we talk about self-care, and the communities think self-care is about hair. It is so deeper than that, So
Most definitely.
counseling has it's been God sent.
Oh wow, I can definitely identify in with what you're talking about. Like I shared with you yesterday, I helped take care of my father who's 92, and
Yeah.
I'm the only boy. So being the only boy, there's some responsibilities that I have that I don't have a left or a right to turn to.
Right.
There's a father-son dynamic there that only a father and son can experience. Then there's a dynamic within self of me feeling like, okay, am I looking at my future? I'm telling
Wow.
you, a lot to
Wow.
the process, a lot to deal with. Hey, you got to pick up the phone. You got to pick up the
Right.
phone. I was telling my sisters, I said, hey, I'm feeling like I'm maxing out. I said, guys, I'm feeling like I'm maxing out. I'm telling you, no one can tell me that I don't love my father. I said, but
Right.
you can't tell me that I don't love my father. Some people can be caregivers, some can't. And I'm maxing out. I'm just being honest. I'm about maxed out from a mental standpoint. Physically, I can do it. It's not a problem.
Right. But the mental.
But the mental things that come with it and the
Hmm.
challenges are very taxing. Very
Right.
taxing. Very
Right.
taxing. And so I applaud, I commend folks that work in assisted living facilities, CNAs. I don't know how they do it every day.
Right.
I'm doing it every day, and I don't know how I'm doing it. And so, you pray about it, talk about it,
Yes. Yes.
and try not to hold it in, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Holding it in is one of the worst things. But I can say, even with counseling, what I learned was effective, healthy communicating, because even prior to counseling, it would build up whatever it was, and it would just come out anyway. And so with that, it would come out anyway. So
y'all
by
don't
that
see me.
time,
I'm shaking my
yeah,
head. Yes, it
yeah.
comes out
So by the
anyway.
time I'm the bad person, and I would feel bad because I knew, I'm like, God, I know there's a better way to communicate, to let them know, okay, enough is enough. And my 25-year-old boy told me this not too long ago. He said, Mom, he said, regardless of what anybody says, how you feel is valid. How you feel
And,
is valid.
and the thing about that is guess what? Just because somebody else is doing something, you can't tell me that I'm supposed to be able to do what you're doing. I can only
Right.
communicate to you how I'm feeling, what I'm
Right.
dealing with. We are not the same. I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. I can
One
apologize to
egg is
you.
not like the other.
Right. I can apologize to you. It doesn't, I
Right.
mean, I feel bad, but at
Right.
least I'm able to communicate it. Respect the fact that I'm communicating this. And that's what people have got to be able to get to where I did a show a few weeks ago on love, relationships, and communication. You got to be able to communicate effectively when saying that. And a lot of times, let's go back to what we were saying earlier, in our community, we do not recognize that communication. We don't pick up on some of the things that you see with your eyes. We don't pick up on some of the things that we may hear that may be reoccurring. And we miss out on some things. And because we've done that, unfortunately, and I say this with a heavy heart, we've lost some people because we just didn't know the signs that we should have recognized. Now, I can
Right.
say that just because, hey, I'm a soldier. Every year, suicide prevention for us was a mandatory class. So for 23 years, I got suicide prevention. So I know if someone starts giving away all their stuff and they're talking about this death and they're talking about feeling
Right.
worthless and this, that, and the
Right.
other, you know, and you're blowing it off, man, what are you talking about? Stop talking crazy. See, that's what folks say. Man, and you know, man, what you stop talking crazy? And before you know it, unfortunately, then they're gone. I didn't know anything. Well, the individual was trying to tell you, you just were not listening.
I truly believe that it would be advantageous of us as people to have training, where it be your workplace, may it be your home, may it be an organization, so you can recognize signs of those that are suffering. Because again, when they're suffering, one of the things that we say is you're strong, you have this, but these people are internalizing, and they're suffering where they feel like their only way out. And a lot of times when they're talking to you about it, it's not because they really want to do it, is
Right,
that they are looking for somebody to help them. They're
right,
looking for the help. And so even going back to what you're saying with communicating, and I will always use counseling for me. I grew up in an amazing home, loved absolutely, but as the Bible say, you know what I'm saying, rear the child up,
that's right.
and so it wasn't a back talk or anything, and it wasn't a questioning of what I was told to do. It was like, Mom, Dad told you what to do, go ahead and do it. So that was a lack of communication on my part, meaning that I
Right.
didn't know how to express myself. So that's where the blow up came. But I realized also is that the lack of communication is why a lot of people suffer, because they don't know how to completely say, hey, I'm going through. I'm actually in a, and some don't even know they're in crisis,
Right.
it is, they don't even know it. And so I think the key to mental health is finding a healthy way to communicate, but along with boundaries. And I think that we have to be able to let our loved ones, our friends, whoever, be able to talk to us without implementing how we feel, because it's not about us.
It's not, say it again.
It's not about us.
It's not
It's
about us.
absolutely not about us, you know? And I think the more and more that we talk about it, the more and more, again, as I stated earlier, we normalize it, that we have healthy dialect. And again, that's what I do with my Makeup Bag Foundation. When we get together, I created about a year ago a group. God gave me a vision called Coffee Chat and Chill, Women's Check-In. Only thing I wanted to do was just check in with my sister friends. May you know me or not, we met up at Panera's probably a year ago. Last week, we celebrated the first year. And the only thing we discussed was self-care. A lot of us knew self-care, but the biggest problem was, honestly, out of that was how to have boundaries in order to take care of ourselves,
Wow.
how to implement boundaries to take care of ourselves. And so because of the lack of boundaries, it was also hurting our mental, because it now was weighing heavy on us.
Wow.
A lot of us are mothers, we're wives. And so collectively, a group of about 12 women, we started to take a journey. We get together, we have great content, it's about self-care and what it looks like. But I always tell them in the group too, we can't carry, you've never seen a hearse before the carriage. You see what I'm saying? It
now.
just doesn't work. So you
Right.
have to talk about counseling. You know,
That's right.
you have to put that in there. But I say this to say that it's just amazing how not the lack of being able to take care of ourselves or understanding where the breakdown is at. And with Coffee Chat and Chill, the self-care thing, I just sat there because we hit it on a lot of different aspects, from our finances, spiritually, mentally, you know, physically. What does it look like taking care of ourselves? And I know at one point in time, I was like, oh gosh, my heart is breaking, Lord, because I started my journey 8 years ago. Some people are just starting it now. You know,
that's right.
They're just starting it now. And I'm like, the only thing I can tell you is we do want to self-care, but we want to go get the help. You know, we need to get the help. So it's just amazing. It's so many things, in my opinion, that make up the breakdown of why we suffer, you know, while we're going through, you know, and those are my thoughts. But,
you know,
again, I am not a clinician.
Yeah.
I am just an advocate. That's a disclaimer here.
Right, yeah. But those are very good thoughts, though. And, you know, and as you talk about, you know, whether you're a wife, mother, and so forth, a lot of times I feel like, and particularly even in relationships, when people go through problems, getting the man to counseling. I'm not even going to say getting the woman to counseling. I'm going to say getting the man to counseling, or say, right. And because the lack of understanding of why you're there. Okay, we're going to go there. Is it a safe place? Can I trust you? Can I really, truly be transparent and tell you why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, and it not be taken and weaponized and used against me?
Wow.
And I would tell you, guess what? No, it's not a perfect situation. Let's just put that out there. It doesn't always happen with this kumbaya moment. You get in there. I'm not going to tell you that it works out for couples and that they don't argue and fight. That's just not reality. But it is a start. And so I've often said, and I've told my friends, I say, hey, they say, oh yeah, we're getting ready to do couples counseling. I said, okay, that's great. I said, but are you doing individual counseling as well? So when you meet as a couple, you'll have a better understanding of who you are. Your significant other will have a better understanding of who they are. And now that conversation that you're having together, guess what? It might be two new people meeting for the very first time.
Yes. And I'm just going to interject right there, even couple-wise. But what about family counseling? You see what I'm saying? Family counseling.
You can't get it. Look, I have two older sisters. I love them, but trying to get us, somebody told me a couple of days ago, they said, if y'all all got in the room, he said that would be a circle firing squad. I said, you know what? I said, you know what? I said, that's ironic that you say that. I said, that could very well be. I said, but one thing I can say is that I love my sisters to death. And no matter what happens, if any of us, and it's only three of us, we're in trouble, we're going to be there for one another.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that we're got this loving, lovey-dovey relationship. Hey, little bro, how you doing? Might not have all of that. But at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, if I'm in trouble, if they're in trouble, it ain't a whole bunch of troops to rally. So if it ain't one, it ain't but one other person you can rally to come. We're going to be there for one another. That's love. Right. That's the love that's the love and family that our parents instilled in us. But at the same time, though, gotta still try to figure some things out instead of just saying, okay, that's how that person is. Because when you get to that point, you're saying that for your own mental health. And I say that for a reason. Because guess what? You can ask someone to change. You can ask someone to get help. What's the old cliche? You can lead a horse to water.
But you can't make them drink.
Can't make them drink. So if you feel like you've done everything that you can do, then you have to look inward and focus back on yourself. My mom always said, and I've said this before on the show and just another conversation, if you know you're dealing with a rattlesnake, there's no reason for you to get bit. So you know how to approach a certain situation. You know how to handle certain conversations. Now, you just touched on it here briefly. We can't just brush over my makeup bag. Come on now. Okay. Tell me about this foundation of yours.
Okay. I'm actually in the works of our 501c. We're waiting for it to come back. I
Okay.
actually launched it about maybe 7 years ago when my aunt passed, the one that I told you that
Okay.
dealt with seasonal affective disorder. And I actually partnered up with Warnersville Community Center because I wanted to go to the area where the numbers, were a little more higher to just bring awareness. And it was absolutely amazing. And since then, God has taken me on a journey to advocate. The more that I share my story, the more, we're able to have events where we get the women in. Normally it's the what is it, May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right.
I get the women in, and then I bring in licensed professionals, and then we have just real talk. But again, it's in a safe place where they can talk, and understanding is what goes on here stays in here. So our actual the mission for it is to educate and empower women about the importance of recognizing and receiving professional counseling for mental health or substance abuse. And so my ultimate goal, which I do believe will be really soon, is to be able to help women that are either underinsured or no insurance to receive scholarships for counseling.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my ultimate goal, and to continue to have events where we're just again chipping away at the stigma, because I know that I can only do so much. But again, my openness and me attempting to normalize it, I'm hoping that the women walk away and they can have the conversations, if not with themselves, or have it with a family member, where it takes the sting away. Again, like I said, take mental health awareness or mental illness and take the power from it. Because if you're quiet, it still stays the same. Like I used to tell my counselor, I said, I cannot continue to look at the big pink elephant with the rhinestone necklace in the room. You can't overlook her.
Right.
You can't
Right.
overlook it. You absolutely cannot overlook a big pink elephant with a rhinestone necklace. And so only thing I am wanting to do is bring awareness, to chip away at it, so that the conversations can start. There's not enough conversations. There's not enough conversations. There are not enough conversation with brown and black girls and boys talking about mental health awareness. And because that is not going on, again, if you think about it, you talked about your father and your mother. I grew up in a house, small family, but nobody talked about mental health,
Right.
and until recently, where you see Kanye West and people like that, and
Yeah.
black influencers taking their lives. Because normally we would be like, oh, surely we don't. We love ourselves too much to
Right.
do that,
Right. And it's funny to
and
it's
so
go ahead. It's funny.
and yeah, and just Kanye out there, I him alone, because, and I'm using him because he has such an influence, what
Right.
I'm saying? It's relevant. It's absolutely relevant. And so my thing again with my makeup bag is to be able to talk to women and say, hey, I get it. My journey may not necessarily be the same as yours, but I want you to understand that the anxiety that you feel is real. The depression that you feel is real. So what is the journey that we're going to take and embark? And again, as I said, it's not a linear thing. It's non-linear. I don't want anybody to go into counseling and thinking that you go one time and it's okay. You're
Right.
good.
Right.
2 times you're okay. 3 times you go okay. 4 times, honey, you got some work. You know, you know how you said work. You
Right.
got some
You gotta
work.
put the
You
work
do.
in.
You have work to do. But I can say, for me, again, speaking as a consumer of services, of a professional, that was the best decision. That was the best decision. My daughter has gone to counseling. My son has gone to counseling, because again, I don't have the answers, all of the answers. Only thing I can sit with my children is have understanding, and then implement some type of guidance,
That's right.
because we need professionals to help us walk through those things, the coping skills, those things, to realize, why did this, as you said yesterday, what is the root to it? Because with everything, there is a root.
There's a root
This
to the
tooth that I
problem.
got, there is a root,
But
if it's hurting. Huh?
you spoke on it a little bit, just from the male perspective. There are a lot of athletes. It's not just Kanye West. You got Paul George. You got Kevin Love. You have Michael Phelps. There are a lot of athletes and a lot of prominent people who are trying to break down those walls and the stigma against mental health, to say, hey, I'm dealing with this and so forth. and it's okay, and I'm seeking treatment for it. And for men
What
to
is
be
the
able to
best?
see that is a beautiful
Right.
thing. To know
It
that,
is.
to be able to say that, and to know that it is okay, but it is still such a Mount Everest in our community, just because of the stigma behind it.
Right, right. And again, how do you chip at a stigma? How do you chip at it? You have to have those conversations. It When I say normalize, we normalize a lot of things that are just not important. You know, we pay more attention to things that are just really unimportant than our mental health, because it's easier not to normalize the taboo or the scared word of illness behind mental, that takes away, what we perceive to be power, that we have it together. And that's one of those things that I keep saying, talk about it, talk about it. And I will say the words over and over: talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, that your kids are okay saying, Mom, I'm not feeling good. That your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your sister or whatever say, hey, I've heard you speak on this. I've heard you share your journey with, going to
That's
counseling.
right.
And I tell people all the time, they be like, well, I don't want to take meds and I don't want to do this. Again, the waiver is, I am not a doctor. I'm not a clinician. But my thing is, I'm not against, or I'm not against or for. I'm just pro get help. Get help.
Get
Get
help from
help.
somewhere, and that's
Yes, get
you.
help.
That's a what we're talking about, and you just mentioned it. And you talked about children. A lot of times, first of all, as adults, let's just say this: as adults in our generation right now, we have to understand that these kids are dealing with things that we never had to deal with.
Not at all.
Guys, if y'all didn't know it, Carina and I, we live in the same area. She's just in the next town over. But what I will
Right.
say is this: guess what? She knows exactly what I'm talking about. We had channel
Mhm.
2, channel 8, and channel 12, and channel
Right.
45.
And that
So
was it.
that was it. And TV went off at night and you heard the
Mhm.
national anthem. These kids have
Yeah.
social media, 24-hour TV, whether it's from cyberbullying is real to the point that where a child is taking their lives. There's so much going on. The stigma is real. And I remember, and I will share this story with you. I remember I went to elementary school at Millis Roads. Millis Roads, and I would walk from Millis Roads to Ragsdale High School at the time where my mother was teaching. I'd get out of school and I'd walk to her classroom, I'd do my work. And I'm not going to call the young man's name because I have no idea where he is. But I will just say this: he was being teased over and over again because he was wearing the same thing.
Mm.
He was wearing the same thing. And I remember telling my mother, I said, hey, Mom, so and so and so and so, they're about my size. Can I give them some of my clothes? Can I give them some of my clothes? And so, first of all, she was shocked that at such a young age I wanted to do something. And then we figured out a way to do it to where it wasn't embarrassing at all. And so I remember school was over. We were in the hallway, and I just walked up beside him and I took his hand. And I said, hey, this is for you. And I just gave him this bag. I said, don't worry
Wow.
about it. Just look in. And so I saw the joy, the change in this individual and how his self-esteem changed.
Right.
His self-esteem changed over a period of time. And I went so far as to tell him, my mama told me, she said, hey, she wrote a little note out to him. And she said, if you need us to wash anything, just bring it,
Last night.
give it to Chuck. We'll wash it. He'll give it back to you the next day. And he actually did that a couple of times. And his self-esteem so changed. And the funny thing was, we never talked about it. Never,
Right.
never said anything, never mentioned
Right.
it. It wasn't like no fanfare. He found a friend who was safe enough to understand what he was having to deal with and trying to
Right.
deal with. And so a lot of these, and that was way back then. Nowadays, this stuff these kids are dealing with is on such another level that unfortunately parents can get busy, people are working, the child's trying to figure it out on their own. They've got expectations from their parents that they want them to meet. They're not meeting them. And guess what? They end up tapping out.
Social media. Social media is an entirely different beast. We didn't have that. When you got home from school, after you did your homework, you was out there jump roping, throwing rocks, borrowing one skate off
Come on.
another friend. If you couldn't skate with both skates, you was down at the creek. You were doing what you had to do. You were a cheerleader, whatever else. We had no way of getting, social media didn't even exist for us, so there wasn't anything going viral. You couldn't record me sending you anything because I couldn't send you nothing but the little tripod things.
Will you be my girlfriend?
Yes no?
Right.
That type of stuff. And so now my 21-year-old doesn't do social media. Absolutely beautiful girl. And sometimes her mom probably needs to fast a lot more than she does. But we've had conversations of how it tears more down on her self-esteem than it does. And so that's when comparison comes in. Now, me growing up, if I compare myself to somebody, it's because I was in their presence. I didn't have zillions of outlets to look at for me to now go down and try to figure out what's wrong with me, or even though nothing was wrong with me, so it's entirely different.
And the funny thing is you're talking about social media. I've said it before. I've seen social media, even in adults. I just kind of like observe, and I'm like watching some people operate, and I'm like, so this is how they're feeling that void. I don't know what the void is, but this is how this person is feeling. And it is so, for me, it is so obvious. I'm going, that's interesting. I'm like, this is interesting. And I sit back and I kind of observe, and not from, and I don't want people to think I'm doing this from a judgmental standpoint.
Okay.
Purely observation to say, because guess what? If someone is consistently doing something, is consistent, they're consistently looking for, they're looking, when the picture gets risque or gets more provocative, yes, they're looking for the like, they're looking for the love. They want the heart. They want that gratification. They want it. And, hey, Jamie, I see you. You're rolling with Ramsey. Nunu, I see you. You're rolling with Ramsey. Jamie said self-gratification is more humbling than what one can get from others. That is so true. But Jamie, I will say this. If the self-gratification is not recognized, what are they?
Rooted in healthy places, my thought.
Right. Or there you go. Or rooted in a healthy place, then what are they doing? They seek it from someplace else, which is unfortunate. Right. And but I tell people, I say, just kind of observe your timeline and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like I say, and I'm a believer. You can see this right here. I'm a believer. Trust and believe in me. Sunday morning for me, honestly, I'll say this and I'll be honest about it. I get more laughs on Sunday morning. And the reason why I say this is because the Bible says, be aware of false prophets.
Right.
Just because you're doing a Facebook Live and you're reading doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You're not.
Pass the plate. We get.
Hey, I'm just saying. I just kind of. Okay, here we go. Let me keep on. Now, guess what? I don't have to stop and listen. Disclaimer, doesn't mean I got to stop and listen. But it seems like on Sunday morning, it's about 50 million people that want to preach. And I'm like, okay, is this first sermon Sunday? What y'all doing? But, and so even with those folks, I will say it goes back to understanding who you are. And
counseling helps. And counseling helps with that. It definitely helped.
Yeah.
It broke down so many things for me, who I thought I should be as Carina, a mother, Carina, a daughter, because I was sacrificing me for them. So I was drowning, trying to meet their needs, not understanding that I can't pour from an empty cup. And the thing about it is that in order for me to pour into anybody, it has to come from a place of overflow.
Come on now.
It has to come up from a place of overflow. But I began to find myself, and when I started counseling, I was dealing with so many codependent relationships. I had never heard of codependent relationships. And even to this day, my 21-year-old, we're still working on it, but I had an opportunity to meet the real Carina in counseling. You see what I'm saying? And I love her. Hear me. I love this chick. Straight talk. I do. I love her. I love her because the Carina that was there prior to 8 years ago, I loved her. But I can tell you what, I had also dealt with self-hatred because so many things had accumulated in my life journey that I had begun to take on many things that were not me, or me trying to be something to somebody else. And counseling allowed me to deal with it.
You know, it's funny. I'll just tell you, stop telling my story because I remember when I started seeing a psychologist and I was doing the same thing, seeking counseling. I would share this with folks. You know, I'll be transparent here for a second. It was funny. I would go in, I would sit down, and I love her, my counselor to death. She was wonderful. She said, "Well, which Chuck am I talking to today?" That's what she would say. She said, because guess what? She would say, you've got business Chuck, you've got the soldier Chuck, you've got the adventurous Chuck. Then she said, she would call the little boy in me, and she said, and then you've got Chucky.
Chucky.
She said, then you've got Chucky, who is we got to talk to him eventually too. And when she first broke out, right, and she would broke all this stuff down to me, lady, what you talking about? But guess what? We talked to we talked to all these people and got a better understanding of how they're all the same person and they make up who you are.
And how they all had their own needs to be healed in order to move on.
And
I tell you what, that is real talk. That is absolutely real talk. And like I said, with counseling, we were able to deal with stuff. We were able to deal with stuff, and I was able to pull off the layers, and it was allowing me to breathe because I was suffocating, trying to be something that I was not. And when I just said earlier, I say this about as humblest as I can say, but I love this girl, and I put too much work in. You know what I'm saying? I put in too much work.
You gotta love
to allow certain things.
You gotta love yourself before you can love anybody else. Come on now.
Exactly. But counseling allowed me to see those things, and again, it took the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent of Carina to say, okay, you have to work on this. Because when I say I was drowning, I'm a great mom. I'm a great daughter. And sometimes it still gets twisted, but my counselor had to tell me, but who's going to save Carina? Because I had threw the life preservers out for everybody else.
Who's going to save?
But I had failed to save me.
Come on now.
And I didn't know how to extend grace to me. So I was internalizing more things that did not have to be internalized, which was creating more self-hatred because my perception of myself was unhealthy. It didn't deal with the Carina, the daughter, the single mother that was tired. It didn't deal with the daughter that had lost a father, because I would always say to my mom in my head, I lost my father, but she lost her husband. It meant absolutely nothing. Me losing my father was just the same as her losing her husband, except I started to look at it like mom needs to take care of herself. That wasn't the case.
Right.
That wasn't the case. And again, as a woman, and part of what I teach with my makeup bag is that we've been taught to be selfless. That's a lie from the pits of Uganda or whatever. But I say this to say that we've been taught it so much that now, and when we give, when we do for ourselves, it feels bad. You see what I'm saying? Like You're now questioning, why should I do this? But if I realized that if I did not take care of me in the manner that I needed to, then my kids wouldn't have a mother. You see what I'm saying? Not a functioning, healthy mother.
That's right.
Now, I still would have been here on earth, but I wouldn't have been much good to them. And one of the things that counseling has allowed me to do is begin to break down the generational curses of the things that hadn't been discussed.
That's
you see what I'm saying? The habits and the things. And so me now with my 25-year-old and my 21-year-old, Charles, we're taking a different journey. Real talk. We're taking a different journey. So we talk about mental health awareness. We talk about the things that, disappointed them in their childhood. And they have the freedom to have this floor with me. You see what I'm saying? But I would have never known that had I not gone to counseling. I wouldn't have granted that to my kids.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Because by that time it would have been like, they talking back. What are you talking about? That's see what I'm saying?
Powerful.
But it allows me to do that. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm absolutely grateful for, again, the journey. I am grateful. And I just want to address something. A lot of believers believe that you can't have a therapist and God. You can have both. I got Jesus and a therapist, and they rock
Amen.
together. You hear? We roll like two flat tires on a Huffy bike.
Come on.
You can't.
You're absolutely right. I mean, wait a minute now. Okay, what is the parable? No, what is the parable? The man or the woman sitting on the roof in the flood. The man come by in the boat. Nope. Jesus gonna save me. Come back in the helicopter. Nope. Come by with a log. Nope.
Yep.
You get to heaven after the flood done took him. Why you didn't save me? I sent you a helicopter, a log, a boat. You didn't take any of them.
Exactly.
So wait a minute. The therapist is the same thing. You're drowning, like you were saying. You were using the metaphor. They're drowning. The therapist is nothing more than the lifeguard.
It is the exact same thing. And another thing that I want to address as we're talking about this, that a lot of people think that if you get a counselor, if that is not a good fit, that's the same way if you put on jeans or shirts or whatever, it's not a good fit, you change it. You are not locked into a particular therapist. You can change that. You can absolutely change that. But I really think that so much of the stigmas of what it looks like for counseling is actually what is made up in our heads, or what we've taken from somebody else to be now fact, which is an untruth in actuality. That makes sense.
No, that is very true. Your counselor or therapist has to be someone that you trust. They have to be able to have created a safe place for you where you feel loved, comfortable enough to truly, like you said, peel back the layers of the onion. Because if you don't have all of those feelings, if you're still, and you know whether or not you're being honest and forthcoming, then you need to say, hey, this might not be the best fit. Can you recommend somebody else? I
did it with my daughter. I told her, I said, the young lady wasn't a good fit. And my daughter felt bad. I said, honey, how are you going to take care of you? How are you going to get better? How are you going to grow? How are you going to learn the things that you need? Because my thing is, my time is money and my money's money. And what I've done in the past 8 years is I've invested in me in a way that I can't let you or anybody else disrupt the work that I've invested.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I'll say this for the veterans listening. One of the things on the intake form, if they go to seek counseling, they ask the right questions. Are you a believer? Do you want a male or a female? Are you more comfortable? They're going to ask you these questions before they even just say, okay, yeah, this person's got an appointment. Go talk to them. No, it's not that generic, unless it's an emergency situation or something. But you can find, like you said, the right fit. We're almost at the top of the hour. I told you I was only going to keep you for about an hour, so we're from 6 to 7. But before you get out of here, we have to enter what I like to call my rapid fire segment.
Okay.
All right, so I call this my rapid fire segment. So here's how this works. I got 5 random questions that I chose earlier. And you didn't
tell me about that.
That's right, I sure didn't. And you are to answer these questions as quickly as possible off the top of your head. We want you to be honest. Of course, try not to overthink it. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Who would play you in a movie?
Angela Bassett.
Okay. Which talent would you most like to have?
Dancer.
Okay. Which band or artist, dead or alive, would play at your funeral?
I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. What's left on your bucket list?
Santorini, Greece.
Okay. All right.
Santorini, Greece.
All right. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
If you had someone following you around all day, all the time, what would you have them do?
Help me keep up with stuff, because I'm forgetful, man.
All right, you still got to go back to that last.
I have one in my life. She works with me. Bless her heart. She's like, you forgot this. Did you get that? Yeah, it's called daughter.
That is funny. All right, band or artist? Who would you have play?
Say that again.
Band or artist? Who would you have play at your funeral?
112 or Jagged Edge.
Okay, all right. Hey, there you go. And you've done it. So listen, it was a pleasure and a joy to have you on today.
Thank you.
To bring awareness to mental health, tear down those stigmas. I'm going to call you once I shut everything down, because I've thought about something just in talking about what my makeup bag does. It just hit me all of a sudden, and I'll share that with you, that we could possibly do together. But it's definitely been a joy. Thank you. Remember, all you got to do is reach out. Rollin Wit Ramsey. We're going to have you back on again. If you got a big event coming on, something you want to highlight, always going to be there. Everybody in Carina's network, guess what? Today's interview is going to be up the rest of the evening, and I'll leave it up all day tomorrow. But then Friday morning, it's going to go away. Why? Because I have to thank the guys in the Philippines, Joel of my Edit My Videos Now. And I got to thank the artist QB Smith, who's going to edit all the audio. And then we will upload it to the YouTube channel, and you guys will see those advertisements as well. You want to listen to the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and drumroll please, Save Radio. So guess what? You can find us in all those places. Remember, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Gotta love it. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you, and having you on today. And guess what? We want to tell everybody tomorrow, North Carolina, go vote. Come on.
Yes, please vote.
Go vote tomorrow, North Carolina. Early voting starts tomorrow. I'm going to try to get it done tomorrow. I like to say every week. That's right. Your vote definitely counts. Like I like to say every week. Hey, thank you for rolling with Ramsey, and I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
See here. All right, guys. Hey, that was a beautiful interview. Definitely a blessing to be able to have Carina on to bring that awareness to mental health. Man, guys, awesome. So guess what? Another week is going by, and I will see you next week. And once again, guess what you've been doing?
As long as we can get away, yeah, and run up on the coast. As long as we can get away, baby, 'cause you don't wanna chase. Ooh, tell me what you say, so I know what to do. We can take a chance. We can make a move, baby. Tell me what you say, so I know what to do. We can take a chance. We can make a move. And everybody say yeah. Yeah. And everybody say oh. Everybody say yeah. Yeah. Now everybody say oh. Oh, money chica. I call her money chica. 'Cause she don't write no questions, no. She just get the paper. Call her money